Hi, happy 5th anniversary, Louder Than Mom.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. How's everyone doing tonight?
Yeah.
I was going to tell a rock and roll story, but since it's Pride Month, I'm going to tell my Pride story. Pride in Stitches. I rode a float in the 2005 Pride Parade. It was very fun at the time, and a liberation for my growing acceptance of my whole self. But not where my biggest pride was and still is. I have a much different pride story to tell tonight. When my daughter started 4th grade, she was already a very prolific reader. She became very interested in the Victorian era. She wanted to dress her dolls in the style of that period, but we were unable to find any. Well, there wasn't Amazon back then. So Em asked for a sewing machine for Christmas and intended to make her own doll clothes and to match the time period she was so interested in. We studied the instruction manual, we checked out sewing books from the library. I found a sewing book on a clearance rack titled Sewing with Clotilde. The library books went back, but Clotilde would stay with us and teach us how to sew. All the instructions were clear. To finish a seam, simply run the stitch back and forth a bit at the end. Okay, easy enough. But how do you tie the threads? As a Fisher person, I have tied more knots than I can count and thought some kind of knot must be needed. Was this so basic that they didn't include it in the manual? I wondered how this could be left out of the instructions. So since there was an accomplished seamstress in our extended family, I decided to consult her. She invited us over, and I was glad. Maybe we could get some more tips. We immediately got the simple answer I needed. The back and forth stitching secures the seam. Like I said, easy enough. No knot needed. After getting the info I needed, I was politely asked to leave the room so she could teach Em to sew. Even though I thought I made it very clear that Em and I were learning to sew together. It was clear she had no interest in teaching someone she only could know as male anything about sewing. I had the answer we needed. We never went back. Clotilde was amazing at answering every other question we would have, and she was right at our fingertips when we needed her, with no gender judgment from her book. Em found some patterns for antique dolls, and soon we were cutting patterns and making seams. Sometimes ripping out more seams than we completed, it seems like. But we were improving fast and having fun. As our skills, our haberdashery collection, and Em's doll clothes collection grew, Halloween was fast approaching. Of course, Em would be sewing her own costume. We found an antique pattern to match her dolls and her interest in that time period. We found a flower pattern drapery cloth to give the dress a rugged, old-timey look. We sewed the pattern. We trimmed it with lace. We made the matching hat. We trick-or-treated. She wore it to school for Halloween with so much pride beaming. And her teachers were amazed at her skills, our skills, I guess. One teacher even requested that Em make some outfits for her own child, which she did. She made a few outfits which her teacher really adored and requested more, but I told Mairead, well, for the price of the material and labor, you can't really compete with China, so kind of a losing proposition. Unless you want to be a child laborer, I don't think we're going to make too many more clothes for teachers. But it was nice, because my daughter and I learned new skills. She got a big boost in confidence, and she saw the real admiration of her work and was empowered by it all. She now has completed her first year of college at a major university, paid mostly with her academic scholarships. Is this different than the average person's pride story? does it really matter how I was presenting gender while this took place? My point is that if society just left trans people alone to live their lives in peace, our stories wouldn't be much different than anyone else's. Our transgender stories are about life, liberty, and happiness, not bathroom access. That is a story of a society full of fear. If society fears us, then we are forced to fear society, and everybody loses something. Maybe that's why the patriarchy fears us so much, and that includes the entire LGBTQ community. It is our ability to empower all women. My pride stories are not all about parades and parties. It is in the moments spent with my family that gives me the biggest pride. So I would have fun riding again in the Pride Parade in the same dress that I wore in 2005. But to me, the Pride Parade is a party about how much we have gained and where we're at. But it's a corporate-sponsored, police-guarded party now. It started out as a protest, so my feelings, my heart goes more with the Dyke March nowadays, which is truly more of just a peaceful protest that to let people know how much more we need to do. Thank you.